Without much further ado, we'd like to welcome up Julian White, Chief Lighting Technician.
Hi, my name is Julian White. I'm from the UK. Chief Lighting Technician for 27 years now. Thank you, Ted, and thank you, Aputure, the family. It's been really warm to be here, and thank you for everybody for turning up. One thing I wanted to say is that I think anybody under the age of 30, you're very lucky, apart from you're under the age of 30, but if you've been in the industry as long as I have, you've seen a lot of changes from very hot tungsten lights, a lot of power, a lot of cable, into what we have today, which is a very slim line, very accessible, very easy tool to use. So I would say we're very lucky, but if you're under the age of 30, you're definitely lucky because you don't have to go to through all the heat and pain that I had to go through when I was first started lighting. So just to give a bit of context, I want to sort of show some 3 short clips from movies that I did over the past 10, 15 years. So the first one is Log, which is a movie I did 12 years ago, I think. And it's all set in a car over one night in an hour and a half. We shot for 5 nights on a low loader as a small crew. We were really at the mercy of the motorway lighting. We didn't have much that we could do. We couldn't put Brontos or cranes up. We certainly didn't have the money. So really our only option was to light from the top of the car. And obviously, although we could use tungsten lights, we wanted to use LED. But unfortunately, LED at that time was very rudimentary. It was mainly from the rock and roll world or theatrical lighting. So we didn't really have many options. And it certainly wasn't a remote controlled, and it certainly wasn't pixel mapped. You could only just do on, off, brightness, color, et cetera, et cetera. So if you could show this, the behind the scenes. So this was before Instagram, so the quality of the pictures aren't great, and I just did them for reference. Anybody who doesn't know what life was like before Instagram, I'm sorry. Anyway, so on the top of the car, we're on a low loader. We had 2 cameras. I believe they're Reds, but I could be wrong. Anybody from camera can tell me. So we rigged up these pipes with suction mounts off top, and then on each side, well, we'd only pick his driver's side because we didn't really need anything else. We had some Miltech battens, which are here. And then they'd run the cable down the back. There was a small generator. And then on the front, we had an LED light panel 1 by 1 to give a bit of fill. Inside, we used small light gear, credit card size light mats stuck behind the seat, inside the cockpit, et cetera, but none of them were controllable. So we really had to just kind of guess how we're going to do it. Now, we were lucky because we shot the same movie 3 times each night. Tom would do the whole script in one go, and then we'd re-rig cameras, change filters, change lenses, that kind of thing. So we could make it much more exciting. And then we did that 12 times in total. So over 4 nights, 3 times a night. And then also we put a half mirror in front of one camera. I'm not sure if it's in this one, but there's a half mirror. So we'd pick up reflections from the other side. And really it's an execution of a very simple story. It's one man driving through the night, talking to people on the telephone, and that was it. And actually, I think it's one of my favorite films. It was the most difficult to light in some ways because you had to keep it interesting. The other thing is that to control the lights, I basically had a 12-channel desk, which was running through a laptop into the controls. It was me in the freezing cold, night after night, trying to do some kind of interesting lighting gag with it to really kind of augment the exterior lighting that was already there. And if you run the clip again, I was very kind of disappointed because actually, if you look at it, that's me, my cold hands not being able to work properly. And it's kind of, it's a bit chunky. So if I had my time again, I would definitely be in a happier place. That's one thing. And that was a film that really, to me, was, although it's not a big movie, had a lot of trying to plan out how to make that work was the thing. And we had no rehearsal, so we went in straight cold day one. The second movie, I believe, is Cinderella. Now, Cinderella, this is only a short piece. It's a big Disney film, obviously. Shot on 35mm, 2 cameras. And this scene is basically just a simple thing where Lily James walks past the characters and is out and goes into the next room. But actually, if we go into the photos that I brought from behind the scenes. So up here on this bar here, we had 2 of them. We had Deca sources, which were really good lights, actually, and I don't think you can get them anymore. I believe Al Meyer and Claudio Miranda designed it many years ago, and it was one of his first projects. And I love them when they're MR16 bulbs in a line, and I can't remember the output. I think it's like 6 kilowatt per bar. Then up here we had Zap lights, we had festoon lights, we had China balls, we had loads of stuff, and that whole rig, I think, mounted up to 20 kilowatts. And it evolved through the scene. So once we first started rehearsing, we didn't really know exactly what we were going to do. And we ended up starting to drop pipes in, and then we had to put soccer feeds in and all that. And then we had to gel things, plus diffusion. And it started mounting up very quickly and got very hot. Above us, we've got all these tungsten space lights as well. So it's building up to probably 60, 70, maybe 80 kilowatts of total power in that one room for a very small scene. So, going back to what I have in my hand, what you guys have an opportunity of getting hold of is literally a world away from what we had to deal with, I had to deal with when we first started out. And the pressure of that is, exponential, because that you have to try and think that what you're going to use and have things ready, but also then as the scene evolves, actors move and all that, you have to readjust. And obviously, when things are very hot and, difficult to actually handle, to re-rig them and move them, it takes a long time and it's quite stressful. So certainly having something like this takes a lot of that pressure off. And then the third clip is from Murder on the Orient Express. Well, basically the problem with this is it's a 45-foot train carriage, which is only 12 foot wide. We go from day to night. It's got 12 principal actors in it, all who have varying ages, varying skin color, varying needing in certain ways to make themselves look more compelling or more beautiful, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, we're in a rectangular box, which I can't get lights in from above very easily because it's sealed. In the top, in the photographs you'll see here, these were tungsten fittings, but we also had LED hidden behind them. And then when we got into any close-up work, we'd take the center section out and then drop in lights. This was my first kind of LED tube that I designed. I didn't design the LED tube, but I designed that one for the shoot. And basically it was an extruded aluminium 1x1 square section with a 16 mil spigot on the end. And then on the extruded aluminium, I just run light ribbon bicolor so I could have, and actually I think we did amber and then 3200. There was no daylight in it, so it was bicolor, but in a different way. And then basically although they were powered, you can see a cable going up, they were powered by, and I can't remember the system they used in England, but it was basically the data and the power would go through that. And then we'd have to, if we wanted to move it, we'd have to unplug it and find another place to plug it in. So above that, we had a whole system of cable ready, so we could just flip them backwards and forwards. So the challenge in this whole thing, it was to shoot this whole train without seeing the roof. And if we did see the roof, we just remove what we had. But also we did steady cam up and down this train and looking, with Michelle Pfeiffer and other actors who, obviously all want to look their best. So it was a bit of a challenge. So that's really, and the thing with that is that it did work. It's not a problem at all. But obviously, when you're having to move lights quickly and you have to, a camera adjusts and you have to readjust, then ladders come in, people have to go in, people have to get out. And it's a little bit painful. Again, with the magnetic system, the Wi-Fi controlled battery, the colors you have, the adaptability, I wish I could have gone back and done it again, to be honest. So that gives a bit of context of what I've done in the past and why I think we're all very lucky. So what I want to do with this scene really is, and just want to say to Katie and the guys for making a nice little set for us. It's got some some good props, and it looks good. This is Juliet, our actor, talent, and she's going to do some bits and small pieces. Thank you. Some sort of small bits of not even a monologue, just thinking about things. So there'll be nothing to act, essentially. So obviously we have a practical here, and if Ben, you could just bring up this practical for a start, maybe like to 50%. So obviously that, you can almost shoot with that on its own. It's no harm with it. It just lacks a little bit of modeling, I think. And then Ben, actually, you could bring up this big Tiffany lamp as well. And you could probably take that to about 75%, if you don't mind. Thank you. So the thing with this would always be, we'd have to try and get something in here just to create a bit of movement up and get some modeling on the left-hand side of her face. So what we would do is probably get a bare bulb and slide that in, which obviously, a cable has to go in. Either it's got to be drilled through the back of the unit, or we have to try and hide it here or run our leg up there. And obviously you've got a wooden structure, which is going to be susceptible to heat. So that's another problem. So you'd end up black wrapping it. Then you might want to cool it down and warm it up. So you have to add gel. it starts getting pretty big and pretty clunky. So, and a bit scary because of the heat situation. So Ben, if you could bring up number 44, the little MC Pro. Yeah. And then I think cool it down a touch, please, so we can sort of match it up with this. Cool, cool, cool. Bit cooler. Yeah, that's probably do it. And then if you take it to, if it's 20%, well, go half of what it is, please. I'm not sure what it is. So I went to well, I didn't. Somebody went to Home Depot for me, but I have been to Home Depot myself. And they brought this, it's just a metal bracket, which we bent into an L shape, very simple. These got magnets on the back, so we're just going to slide that in there. There's a bit of help for Juliet. Now, obviously, we can see that. If you could just slide down the track a bit, Alf, please, so you just hide that a bit more. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Use a bit of paper tape, which is the gaffer's greatest friend, I think. Apart from black wrap, probably, just to try on if we can hide that. I mean, that can, we can put a little bit of props there if we needed to hide it. So that's one thing. I'd always, I carry one of the MC Pros in my pocket when I'm on set, especially when I'm doing close work, just to have that. And there's always a kit standing by just so we can slide it in just to get a highlight or whatever we need. So that, for me, solves a huge amount of problem. That's a very quick thing. So if the director suddenly wants to change or her angle changes, and it's not like I have to unwire the cable and take the heat out, replace things. I just literally take it and move it. And it's it's a real delight actually for a gaffer to be able to do that. I think it's one of the greatest things about LED wireless lighting is just that ease of movement that you can really do things very quickly. One thing I'd like to do actually is maybe we can get a little backlight in here for her. I was told not to move out of my light, but I'm going to have to. So you're just going to have to pretend that I'm here, even though it's dark. I'm sure you can do that. So this is a 4-foot, it's number 23, please, Ben, if you could bring that up. And we'll start in a cool, oh, look, some handy step ladders. So we've pre-rigged this, obviously, but it's just it's a base plate. We've got to use the magnets on the back, and the other thing I do a lot, hello, everybody, is hang them off the top of pelmets. So I use hooks. In England, we film in a lot of stately homes, and you can't fix to anything. You can't put a cable through a doorway because the doors have to be in shot. You can't open windows because they're too old. And you're kind of stuck in this world where you have to work with what you've got. And I think, again, I did a film called Rebecca a couple of years ago, and having stuff that you can just hang and you don't have to cable, you can just fly around with it is the biggest game changer for me as a CLT. Ben, you could just warm that up actually and make it a little bit warmer. One thing I always use the tubes for, or anything that's, these long slim bars, is if you've got exterior light and you want to carry it through into the room, we used to do it with Key to Flow tubes. It's just fix it above the window and it just pushes the light. So you're creating a backlight, but it's obviously motivated by the window. So what I'd like to do now is increase the exterior lighting a little bit so we can bring out the window lights a touch, not as bright as to the full daylight, but just start creating some shape in the background. Okay, hold it there, Ben. That's good. Thank you. We've got a fan going outside to get a bit of life into the window as well. Great. Now, if you can come over to your second position, which is over by this. So I smoke, so I asked to have some cigarettes, but they're not real cigarettes. They're just herbal cigarettes. And if you don't mind, and they're not weed, so you can relax about that. Although in California, you probably don't care. Woo! So Ben, if you could put 42 and 43 MC Pros on, please. Let's experiment. Yeah, it kind of works. So there's two things I'm doing here. We're gonna deal with her key or fill light in a second. I'm just going to add one more of these in. And so number 41, please. So there's two things. I was just trying to get a bit of depth into here because obviously we're shooting off the set. So it was really just trying to make a bit of life in the background, nothing more than that. But again, you can make that very easily and very quickly when you're shooting, just to add some extra elements in the background. And, it's not going to cost you anything. You keep a couple of those hanging around you're in a very winning position. And then the next thing I'd like to is put this little star on. One thing I had an idea as Tim was doing his demonstration is that we could actually have put a candle in front of his laptop and played it through here as a candlelight effect. And I think that would work really well. I don't know if Tim can do that now, but probably not. But just to create some life into it. And as well, again, the thing about these lights is because you've got the ability to do all that stuff, I don't think you should do on every shoot, but I think it's you're lucky. So you really are. So in the old days, that would be, if we wanted to do a candlelight effect, it's the gag, and it's like, 3 blondes bounce into an 8x8 with 3 people on dimmers, or Ben doing it or whatever, or some guy waving stuff in front of it. And that's a whole, apart from the crew that you use up to do it at the time and the thing. And then you're like, it doesn't quite work. And then you're like, okay, scratch that, start again. With this, you just turn it into something else, and it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. So the next thing I want to do is just introduce a bit of warm light into the front here for Juliet. So number 30, please, if you could bring up like 20%. That looks pretty good. What I would say is it's a bit harsh. The nose shadow is a bit harsh. The angle's right. So I've just got some Lelux here and some paper tape. Again, another thing that I always carry is paper tape, Lelux. And you can make a very quick tube without too much hassle. And that can sit quite happily there. Again, if she moves, if the camera or the director suddenly changes her position, we're not rewiring, we're not having to run through a separate door. You pick it up, you move it, you can go with the props. It's, again, very simple. It'll last for 2 hours. It's enough to get you through most takes. So now I think we can start bringing up the exterior lights up to their full potential, please. And Juliet, could you just look over to the window? So just look over your shoulder. And then, Ben, if we could, the 4 foot that's above the window, just cool that down, please, so it's matching the exterior day. So there, again, we have what, 1, 2, the top light, obviously. The thing about that, actually, I was thinking earlier, I know we've got it on a menace arm, but if you went into a low, a ceiling, a building with quite low ceilings, you could rig that and you could be 10 inches off the ceiling, which again, and with no cable, you can shoot 360 in that room without a problem, except when the batteries run out. But, as a low level room tone, that takes you've got 6 infinity bars and a bit of rigging and you're done. And that's, again, another game changer. I think you could probably turn up at most locations on a small commercial with 3 cases of infinity bars, a couple of Electrostorms, and you could rock it. It's not a problem. One thing I forgot to say is that they quite nicely gave me Winston Churchill as a portrait, who I'm not a huge fan of, so I'm going to switch him off if you could. Thank you. Job done. Anyway, so I think we're good on that. I think we can move to our last position. Thank you, Juliet. So the problem here, obviously, Juliet is going to be lit from behind. That really the strongest light is coming from the window, and she's going to be in shadow. So one thing I want to do, can I just get past you? I'm going to kill these. I don't like them. They're ugly and they just spread everywhere. But through the appliance of science. So I always carry steel strapping with me, because now with magnets, you can hang them off a set wall, you can hang them off furniture, you can hang them behind things. They're very simple, and you can just quite literally slide things in. So what we did is we have pre-rigged some magnetic bars. 45, please, Ben. You can, nice warm color. Just put some some steel bars up inside here to hide. That's 41 and 48, please, Ben. Hopefully they'll come on. Okay, so sorry, Juliet, if you could take your position, then you can be leaning in there and doing some work in the antique shop. So the thing now is that we've kind of, we could do. There's a couple of things that we could do. We could actually try and get a light deep in here, which is possible. Obviously, you're seeing through here, so it depends what the camera sees. We could put white paper here, obviously, but we're seeing that as well. So that's quite tricky. So what I found was inside there, the hinge of the hutch, which is a prop, is actually steel. So luckily we have these little, which I didn't know about these actually, and there's a secret I just found out today. They're called MT Pro, and they're great. These are like the hand grenade, which is the MC Pro. This is the baton of. So this is number, it's either 15 or 21. 51, please. Thank you. So I'm just going to slide that in there, and it really sits very nicely on the hinge there. That's keep it cool, actually, please, Ben. Thank you. And of course, it disappears. You could put 2 or 3 in there. They just they can come. So you can, again, use really the advantage of what you have, which is the prop. You don't have to drill anything. You don't have to tape anything. You don't have to do anything apart from use the hinge that's already there, and you're lit and you're away. And I'm sure everybody, including the actors and the director, will be very happy with you and make you feel like you're the hero of the day. I know certainly if you have to then start rewiring stuff and rebuilding stuff and taking time out of the directors and the actors world, they can get pissed off quite quickly. So give yourself a break, should we say. Dim that down, please, Ben. So to reduce it down to 50 at least, I think. It's a bit too spicy. And actually, you could warm it up a touch as well, please. So the other thing I wanted to do earlier, which I did earlier, actually, and I'm not going to say I want to do it, I did do it, is could you bring up number 47? The other thing I love is these, again, very soft domes. I always carry paper tape just to shield stuff for the edges, and the grills as well are really good. And of course, the other one I haven't used on this because maybe I could use it on this one here is these little puppies here. Again, magnetic, so there's no tape involved. It's really boring. Just going to hide that behind there. So that's just to really give a little bit of light into the back wall. And then I had one wall. So again, I was just behind here. I've stuck a magnet. I've stuck a steel plate. We just screwed it to the props, and we did ask permission. But again, I tried to hang a steel bar off the back of this, which is totally possible, but it just got into shot through the window. So again, it's really a very simple way of hiding your tricks of your trade. So that's kind of that, really. I think that's the one thing I would say is maybe just the one top light here. One of the electric storms out here, we can reduce the top one. I don't know the number. I'm sorry, Ben, but it's the top one could be certainly taken down by 20 points, please. Again, these, really with 6 tubes, I think this is more. This is 6, 12 tubes because they're 2 foot. With 6 4-foot tubes, you can make a 8x8 soft light very easily. You put it through a frame, and you're really good to go. Apart from all the fact that you can make, you can do effects with it. It's just a really nice wide soft light. Again, in a small flight case and very easy to rig. Very light, no cables, etc., etc. So yeah, I mean the thing that it's not the most complicated set, as you know and as you can see, but it's certainly a set that you would find, obviously, if you're on a location, it would be a forward version of that. But it was somewhere you could, I think, with what you have these days, is you could literally turn up with very little planning. I'm not saying you shouldn't plan, but just saying you could, if you're in a tight squeeze, turn up and be ready to go in a very short time. If you carry, for me, it's always carrying accessories, things like the steel bars, hooks, bungees, obviously tape. I always carry a drill with some washers so I could just screw into a wall. Anything that can make your life simpler. It's a very simple thing. The lights themselves are just fantastic, so you don't have to try too hard. Obviously, you need a good desktop or the Sidus link, and you're away. And I've got to say, certainly for me, if I could go back 10, 15 years, it'd be a big game changer. And I would change the way I plan my day-to-day shoot, what I have in the truck, how I manage things, but also allows me to really, you've got your last moments before the camera turns over. You've released a lot of your pressure because you don't have to think, well, if I need to change it, how I'm going to run a cable through another door, how I'm going to, hide something. And it just gives you so much more freedom. It's beyond joyful, should we say. I think we're very lucky. And I think, I don't know where lighting's going to go from now, in the sense of, how can we be more Wi-Fi than we are at the moment? How can we have more colors? But I think certainly the way that we have what we've got now is a way of really expanding and developing our lighting system and allowing us much more freedom to really create, which is a great thing. So you don't have to worry so much about the mechanics of things and the practicality of getting cable and power and heat and all that stuff. And you can, you've got a real freedom. So we are very lucky. So yeah, I think that's certainly as far as the lighting of the set is concerned, is as much as I could really show you, except if we brought a director in and started having more of if we had two actors and a dialogue, then it would change things up a bit and camera positions and stuff like that. But again, the principle really applies. So I think what we could do is if Juliet could sit down in her first position, and then we could actually start dimming off some of the exterior lighting. Ben, if we save this 4 foot here, please, and the exterior electrostorms, you can, take that one out. Give us a little glow from the outside, please. And I think we can save the MT2 and this one here as well. And then if you could maybe run an effect on this one up here. One thing about this is if there was an alien invasion, you could do something quite easy. Anyway, that was the gag. So not my comedy career is over. So thank you very much.
Thank you.